Hello, my name is Jeff Gemio, and today I'm going to talk about relationships. It's a horrible topic. There's all kinds of different types of relationships. Briefly, there's romantic, platonic, family, professional, I guess you could say casual, and then other. Well, let's talk about the first one, a romantic one. It's about emotional attractiveness and affection and sexual intimacy usually. But definitely it's about an emotional attachment to something, an attraction, an affection for someone. You have feelings. When you talk about people having some feelings for somebody, that's who they are. Platonic is more fun. It's based on mutual respect, trust. I guess a shared interchange with other people. It's not, sexual. It's not romantic. It's kind of like the opposite of romantic. You got a family relationship. It's based on your bloodline or your legal ties. You got a professional relationship, which is founded on business or a work situation or setting. And then you got casual, which cracks me up because it's the most minimal commitment and interaction possible. Which is funny because that is the most vaguest description I've ever heard. And that pretty much covers every relationship known to man. At that right there and right there. But casual could be anything. When I hear the word other, I laugh at this list. I looked it up. That's how funny this is. Under other, there was we have acquaintances, open relationships, sexual relationships, toxic relationships, online relationships, codependent relationships, community or group relationships. I didn't know that even existed. Long distance relationships, and relationships with your pets. What's weird about it is I think actually you got acquaintances, which is literally the relationship you have with the gas person that you go to pay for your gas or you go to get a cup of coffee for. Open relationship really means you kind of have no exclusivity at all. You can do whatever you want. I guarantee you, God don't like those. A pure sexual relationship. If you got sex and you have no romance or you have no emotions attached to that, yeah, God doesn't like that one either. It's right up there with the next one, a toxic relationship. Yeah, God doesn't like toxic relationships either. Toxics actually are toxic for both sides, actually. They're so toxic they become even codependent on toxicity. An online relationship. Now, oddly enough, I've actually had an online relationship, and I've learned to trust none of it, actually. For all I know, I could be talking to a bot. That's why I look at it. This is before the day they even had bots. There was a time when I used to, IRC chat. Ooh, I dated myself. But there was a time when you chat online like that. And there was nothing wrong with that. As long as you're yourself. And that brought us to the whole in real life thing. How people are not online are not the same as they are in person. I go, well, then why are you pretending? To me, that's lying, but what do I know? But generally, online relationships, to me, have always been platonic. I can't have a romantic relationship with someone unless I meet them. Or hopefully you do too. I guess there's ways around that, but codependent relationships. Relationships where you need somebody. The Lord doesn't like those relationships. Actually, the Lord will bust you out of almost every one of those. I get more karma for codependent thinking than anything else right now. If I get an idea in my head that I need somebody, I get spanked by the Lord. Nope. Stop that. No codependent thinking. Which leads me to believe something very interesting in that the Lord, when you're an independent person, you have to be with another independent person. But you have to actually also know that the two independent people can't be codependent on each other. So they kind of have to operate independent of each other anyway. But the good news is if you're independent and you're both independent, usually you stay independent. You don't really become codependent. Hopefully you got that. But, let's see. Community or group relationship. I have never even thought of that. That I could have I can have a relationship with Habitat for Humanity, where I don't have a relationship with a person there, but a whole organization. Maybe the SPCA or a homeless shelter. Interesting. I never really thought of you could have a relationship with a place. So that's new to me. I got to work on that. See if that's good or bad. A long distance relationship, I've had those. I've had long distance relationships. I've had no choice. At one time, I was actually in Buffalo and dating someone that was in Michigan, so it was a long distance. We would chat a lot. Every now and again, we would talk on the phone. Want to hear her voice. Relationship with pets. Probably one of the better relationships ever. I'm just joking, but I actually would not classify it as a relationship, but there is a relationship there. That being said, actually, there's probably also a relationship with your plants too. So I don't want to discriminate against plants because plants respond to happiness or anger also, by the way. Not just pets. What's ironically funny about relationship is that, especially, let's say romantic relationships, you're starting to get into a relationship, and usually based on tradition, the first thing you usually get as a quote couple, you're not married yet, but you're a couple, is usually you get a dog. And if you listen to mine that says my episode that said traditions, I'll explain it here again. One of the traditions actually is that from a female side of the fence is you get a dog because you want to test your mate to see how they respond to children. How someone reacts to a dog. Remember, a dog is nothing more than a child that's going to live 15 years. It really is not going to grow up. You could teach it things, but it's going to be dependent on you for 15 years, if not 10 or 15 years. So it's a pretty good benchmark of whether or not, how they're going to react to any kind of crazy situation, because oddly enough, dogs do have crazy situations. My dog has been accidentally caught up in the blinds before. She's accidentally eaten some cables. It's chewed on some cables. She's threw up a couple times, accident in the house a couple times. As I said, how you react to those is how you react to a child. Do you scream at the dog? Do you scream at whatever? Then you go over and say, "Oh, that wasn't very nice," and kind of slow, quiet talk it. Me and myself, I don't yell at my dog. So when I go over, that's all I have to tell her is, "Oh, what happened?" And she kind of feels bad, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, I did that," and she never does it again because she just wants me to feel better. She doesn't like how it makes her actions make me feel. And I'm not trying to guilt her. I've never had to hit her. I've never actually had to yell at her. The lowest tone I ever get with her is, "Oh, what happened?" was it? That's it. Then her ears go down like, oh man. And she looks around like, oh yeah, I did that, damn. And she doesn't do it again. You only wish humans were just as good. But that's pets. But anyway, that is actually the reason why most women actually will recommend a pet. And usually it's a dog. I don't understand why they would recommend cats. Cats have a different demographic on them. But what's really funny in a way is generally after a relationship goes sour at that point because someone is not nice to dogs, usually the woman will be single until the dog is gone, which is very, very odd. But that also means they bonded with the dog. Platonic is just anyone that's not romantic or family, basically. Family is funny because I divorced my family. Largely, they were toxic. And the answer is, after 20 years, if you're still doing the same thing you were doing before, and you're still thinking that it works, even though it doesn't, it's probably not wise of me to be in that situation. I believe this for everybody. Just because you're blood or you have legal ties, you need to be with them, doesn't mean you have to actually visit them. When my parents were alive, my mother and my adopted father, when they were alive, and I was married, I literally would be with my family twice, maybe 3 times a year. I would visit for an hour my parents, and they live within 10 miles of me. It's just, you don't visit, you don't talk that often. I used to call it this Polish being Polish. I go, but the fact remains is, just because you're family, and if you have opposing views to you, maybe you shouldn't hang around. Because what happens is you kind of turn into them. And sometimes that's what they want. That's how generational curses get passed down. Alcoholism and all that fun stuff. Well, my mother did it. My dad did it. Yeah, well, only way to break that trend is to not be around them. But yes, I said I actually have divorced my family. It's like, y'all can do whatever you want to do. I just want nothing to do with you. And some would say like, oh, I couldn't do that. I go, well, maybe you need to reevaluate your family to see how toxic they actually are, and how maybe toxic you are. Because if you agree with their toxicity, you are just as toxic. And I do believe everyone is on this journey, individual journey, healing journey. So we should all try to heal. But I said that was kind of funny. Family, you can absolutely divorce family, and they will. Eventually, some of them will come back. They have to realize that they are in the wrong. That doesn't mean I don't go visit my brother every year or so. I see him for about an hour, just to see if he's still healed. Nope, he's not healed. Talks about the same garbage he was talking before, and that's the point. You don't want to heal. Well, if you don't want to heal, I don't want to associate with people who don't want to heal. So now, professional is funny because professional could also be platonic. It could also be, any number of relationships. Technically, I guess a professional would be your doctor. It could actually be, it could be the person you get your coffee from. That could be a professional relationship. I doubt it. More likely, it's your tax preparer if you have one. Definitely your doctor, your dentist. Or you could also say colleagues or your boss. There's more. It has to do with because the only reason you have this relationship is because of work. Arguably said a pure sexual relationship could be, and I laugh about this, but technically if you're a prostitute, you could be a professional relationship too. I have to laugh at that, but I could not see any other way you could actually get a professional, get a pure sexual relationship without being classified as a prostitute. Unless, of course, you're not being paid to do that, which is, I don't really want to know. But as I said, the funniest one I've seen was the casual one, which is the minimum commitment, minimum interaction. And oddly enough, I've actually dated them. And I understand now that is way too casual of a relationship. Bare minimum is not even bare minimum with these people. So that's one of those red flags I look for now, by the way. Generally, I don't keep casual relationships around, by the way. In a way, I guess you could say I'm a little selfish. I think everyone should be selfish. You should be selfish with your time. You don't waste time with people that you can't help. How am I going to say that a little bit differently? I'm not saying you shouldn't have compassion for people, but you can't really help people who don't want to help themselves. You can't go around pushing your beliefs on people. They don't want to heal? Fine. Then slowly but surely you just back away and move on. And the mere fact you backed away and you moved on will either trigger them into changing because, they liked you or whatever. I go, but they also can feel that you're leaving. You're not sticking around. I said, I have a lot of people that happens to me, is I will walk away and say, okay, well, deuces, I'm out of here. And they're like, all of a sudden they starting to smarten up a little bit. It's like, well, you could have kept me, but you decided you didn't want it. And I never look back. When I walk away from a relationship, I don't look back. So it's forever forward, always a new relationship. So for those involved, my exes, I laugh at you. Forever forward. Friends, you better hope you treated me well. If you didn't treat me well, forever forward. As I said, acquaintances, open relationships, there is no relationship with an open relationship. An open relationship means I can do whatever I want to whoever I want. And as I said, God doesn't like those at all. I don't think God even likes long-distance relationships. But long-distance relationships, oddly enough, actually will test your relationship. That I've found over the years is that just the fact that there's additional problems in there. Because of distance, you have to worry about, is this person cheating on me? Is this that? If you are worried about those things, you pretty much shouldn't have a long-distance relationship. Just throwing it out there. Because life will kill you. And then a long-distance relationship will kill you. I don't think anyone can have a long-distance relationship. Well, unless, of course, you have an open relationship. And it's toxic and codependent. But I do know for a fact that God does not like codependent relationships. For a fact. As I said, he blows me up all the time on that. I will sit there and I'll say, get me a girlfriend and then spank. You don't need a girlfriend for that. Stop injecting people. You're independent. Stop injecting people into your story, so to speak. I also do believe that relationships come and go. In the biblical word, I think they call it for a season or two. Not everyone's here forever. There's some are here just for a season or two. And I could see that. You come across a lot of people here and there. Now, I do want to let people know that anyone you've had romantic relationships with, you really should not keep them in your life. If they're not the current one, you don't keep them in your life. That's a trick that they keep playing to keep you in your energy, to kind of vampire off you, to cause trouble. And pass karma to you, by the way. I look at it as I only have spots in my heart for 4 people. and none of them are maxes. Right now they're empty. It's just me and God sitting there. There's 2 more spots waiting for somebody. But you can't hold other people romantically in your heart that you've had romance with. You have to bust that relationship and walk away, because they just cause problems. And those that have been, especially ones that you've had like 5 or 6 years, they come and go, and they kind of like want to come over and trash the current relationship you're in. You need to really evaluate your friendships. As I said, at this point, I don't trust much of anybody, but especially platonics. I'm very, very worried about people who say things just to get a different reaction out of me. So, anyway, that's my discussion on relationships. I know it was a bit long, but there's some weird ones out there. I never ever thought you as a group can have a relationship. That never even occurred to me. So I guess I could have a relationship with my car too. It's just not a good one. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope this helps somebody. Just remember, don't keep people in your heart that shouldn't be there. If you're not your current love interest, get rid of them. Because not only are you cleaning up garbage out of your system, it keeps them from actually tampering with your energy, which people do a lot, by the way. Thank you.